Does baseball have an engagement problem? What I mean by that is the sport exciting enough? Is it a sport that's really interesting and exciting to attend? I mean, clips like this could really come from any ballpark in the United States, right? Things are similar just about everywhere. Is it possible that the sport maybe has gotten a little bit stale? Do you think that baseball has a problem with this? Now, baseball certainly seemed a lot more engaging to me back when I was a kid, right? I remember the late 80s and the early 1990s. I can remember collecting baseball cards with my friends. It was really common back then. I can remember playing a whole bunch of baseball video games back when there wasn't just one franchise and you could choose from all sorts of them. There were actually quite a few that came out. I remember old baseball newspapers, you know, the Sporting News, and then later on Baseball Weekly was a thing as well. In fact, back then I can remember reading books about baseball, books that were actually written and designed for kids, as I recall, something that seems to have mostly faded away. I mean, there are books about baseball out there these days, don't get me wrong, but you don't see the same types of books that you saw before. I don't see so many books about like the greatest teams of all time or most beautiful ballparks or something like that. It seems all to be geared towards older people and older readers. And then finally, even baseball broadcasts, at least to me, seemed a lot more engaging and interesting. I mean, we talked, the other day about Vin Scully, but it's not just Vin Scully. It was, at least as I recall, a treat to be able to watch the game on television on Saturdays because you didn't see it other days of the week. The game felt faster. It felt like things were really different. Now, another thing that I've noticed is that the culture around baseball is different in different countries. For example, if you watch a baseball game in Taiwan, you're going to get a completely different experience than you do here in the United States. It's the same sort of thing in Japan, right? Look at these clips from the 1985 Japan series of fans singing together. And then you have these clips from Japanese high school baseball games with cheerleaders and bands and all sorts of stuff. South Korea will have its own different take on baseball culture. And I mean, even here in the United States, there is a different option, right? Many of you know about like the Savannah Bananas. Now, look, I grew up understanding that baseball really wasn't a raw sport. It's one of the reasons why it feels a little bit off, I think, for us to see, cheerleaders at ballparks and as part of baseball games abroad, or to see people in the stands singing or whatever. It feels a little bit alien to our American understanding of what baseball culture is. But the interesting thing about this is that all of this stuff is happening for a reason. It's almost like there's some sort of issue with the sport itself or something that we're maybe not necessarily trying to cover up, but we're trying to compensate for. We're trying to account for, trying to make the game maybe a little bit more showy or a little bit more flashy so that more people will be interested in it. And the funny thing about this is that this isn't something unique to Asia. This isn't something unique to the Savannah Bananas. This has actually been happening the whole time. I mean, we know about things like mascots, right? We know about the famous San Diego Chicken and all of the exploits that he had early on. Some of us forget about this, but there were also famous baseball clowns in the past. You know about Max Patkin.
Defensive position. He picks up his rosin bag.
Jackie Price, for example.
2 at a time. His control and accuracy are remarkable.
And then we really don't want to forget about the example of Bill Veeck, right? Now, I know, Disco Demolition Night probably wasn't a great idea.
A lot of fans trying to get in the dugout here, the White Sox dugout, but they've got security guards around it. But it's a long night.
But I mean, that's beside the point. It gets people to the ballpark, provides a different experience for them, and it's something that goes beyond this really plastic type of over corporate culture that we tend to have in the sport. Now, I worry a lot about engagement when it comes to baseball. I worry about sinking World Series ratings because it's impacted me personally. I remember way back in 2002, during the 2002 World Series, I was at college at the time, and I was in one of these big commons rooms, and I thought, oh, I'll go in there and I'll watch the game. Surely there will be people around who want to watch it. I went to BYU in Provo, Utah, and there were a lot of kids there who were from California. Remember, that was the year of the Giants and the Angels World Series. And I sat down there was no one else there, and turned the game on and watched for like a couple innings. And then a group of kids came over and were upset because I wasn't watching whatever the popular sitcom was on NBC or whatever network it was. And after a little while, I just gave it up. There were more of them than there were of me. And I went back to my dorm and watched it on a little old black and white TV that I had. So I definitely worry about this. I worry that the sport is just not that engaging, right? When you experience things like that, you think, good heavens, what happened? How come it's like this? Now, I worry about the same thing when it comes to my blogs and also when it comes to this channel. I worry a lot about making sure that the experience is engaging, and like everybody else who's on YouTube, everybody else who blogs, I spend a lot of time looking at numbers and trying to figure out the best way to do things and whether there needs to be some sort of adjustment. And we will make an adjustment here on this channel. You'll see it. You might notice it, though I would guess that most of you actually won't notice a huge change. But I'm going to do everything in my power to make it a little bit more engaging, to go out and try to get people interested and to make things that maybe are a little bit more attractive than to just sit back and do things sort of the easy way. I think that for all of us, when it comes to engagement, we probably want to have a little bit, at least, of Bill Veeck in us, and we want to stay away from the sort of high-nosed owners who end up doing nothing to really promote their product and promote the sport. But what I really want to know is what you guys think about this. I mean, is what I'm telling you resonating? Do you think that this is correct? Or is this an exaggeration? Is there really no problem and, this is something that is easily explainable by something else? Honestly, I can see it kind of from both perspectives, but I really want to hear what you have to say about it. So let me know down below. And while you're at it, if you haven't already, subscribe, because we're going to have a lot more stuff like this. Talk to you later. Bye.